I'm 30 years old. Oh, actually, I'm 31, just 30 sounds better. But I've learned quite a few things in my 3 decades of being here on this planet, living life as a creative freelancer for 10 of those years on this planet anyway. So in this video, I'm gonna share 30 life lessons covering areas like personal growth, distractions and focus, money, love, and harsh truths that might feel a little too close to home for some.
Starting with number 1, which is the quality of your social circles directly impacts the quality of your living. The people you spend the most time with will have an inordinate amount of influence on your habits and beliefs. You've got to try and manage the time that you spend with negative people and seek out more individuals who share the values that you want to develop at this point in your life.
Dating isn't a passive activity, it's an active one. That old Hollywood trope of just waiting around for that special person who is destined to be you and written in the stars for you to one day be together. That's complete bullshit. Your dating life is way too important to just leave it up to luck. You need to make active steps to improve the skills that'll make you a better prospect for attracting the partner that you actually want. Go ahead and ask that girl out at the grocery store that's been scanning your not so healthy and overly priced frozen pizzas for the last month. And when she inevitably says no, sorry to break your heart, you should do the exact same thing to that other cute girl that you've seen sat on your train journey on the way home. No, this isn't creepy. The whole human race is dependent on people having the balls to go up to the opposite sex and say hi. There's nothing more honest and human about being vulnerable with another human being, especially when you both want to maybe consensually have sexy times together.
Number 3 is find what personality type you have and discover the good and bad qualities about it. There's a reason you've met people who remind you of other people. That's because us humans are not actually that special, and there's only a limited amount of personality types that exist out there. So figure out your own. Do personality tests to figure out the exact personality that you have and the traits that come with it. I particularly like the Enneagram personality type because it also looks at what your personality is like if you're like high health or low health. I'm a 6 with a 7 wing, by the way. So knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your personality type allows you to double down on the good ones while also reflecting on how you can improve the more weak or bad ones. Number 4 is that money... I'm looking at the script for this one. I'm not going to try and remember it. Money doesn't buy happiness. It just doesn't buy fulfillment. Life with money is way better than not having any. I'm sure as hell going to be happier knowing that I can buy that new Nintendo Switch 2 console when it comes out, because this one feels a bit ancient now. But fulfillment can't be exchanged with money. It requires time and dedication to achieve fulfillment from the things that you're pursuing. Seek to acquire money to allow an easier path towards fulfillment. Number 5 is to curate your social media feed so you get given better stuff. It's incredibly hard to avoid being resisted by the algorithms, but you can train them. And doing this will help teach the algorithms what kind of content you don't want to see showing on your feeds, and it'll start to instead deliver you stuff that actually aligns more with the kind of healthier, motivational, and less like fear-inducing, anxiety-inducing posts that we all see cropping up all over our social media. On YouTube and Instagram, you can hit the not interested button on any post that you happen to see, and that'll help teach the algorithm to give you stuff that actually provides you with energy and inspires you versus stuff that is like a vampire and is draining it out of you. Number 6 is that our biggest curses can also be our biggest blessings. The struggles that you were born into or the struggles that you went through during adolescence initially make life more difficult. But as you get older, you can tackle these traumas to help steer your life in directions that it never otherwise would have had you not had these traumas. Traumas suck and they can be incredibly debilitating on our everyday lives. But the only solution is to work as best as we can to understand how they've shaped our character and how the experiences we've gained from them can help us navigate into the future.
Number 7 is that all friendships are transactional, and that's okay. Friends only want to spend time with you if they get something out of the time that you spend together. That might be because when you spend time together, you help each other with business and creative stuff that you're both pursuing, or you have a shared history that bonds you from the memories and experiences that you've created together. If a friendship ends, it's usually because you can't exactly transact anything together anymore, and as much as that can initially suck, you've got to slowly come to terms that this thing is normal and it's okay. You both shared what you did together in that period of time that you could, and you've both helped each other grow, and you've come away as better people, hopefully.
Pets give you more love back than the time and responsibility that they take away. Yeah, they're going to cover your apartment in fur and tap on your your face to wake you up at 7 a.m. to feed them. But on the days when an existential crisis hits and that cute little fluff ball curls upon your lap to have a sleep, all of those vomit stains on your carpet will soon be forgiven.
All advice is specific to the individual telling it, so test it out for yourself. Advice is all based on the experience of the individuals who are telling it. However, everybody is different, so one thing that might work for somebody else may not actually work for you. Test out methods and strategies that you hear about, but just know that if you actually try to implement them into your own life and they don't work, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It could just mean that that particular piece of advice wasn't meant for you in the first place. So just throw it out and experiment more. The advice, I mean, not your personality. Your personality is fine, probably, maybe, I hope so.
Number 10, track your weekly/monthly spending. What gets measured gets managed, and if you constantly see your money disappearing out of your bank account month after month, are you aware of where it's even going? Software subscriptions that take $4 out month after month when you haven't even used that piece of software in a while. And coffee runs that cost hundreds of dollars a month when you could just invest in a machine at home and save in the long term. There's easier ways to do this than there's ever been before with softwares that can track all of your ingoings and outgoings per month, so you don't have to manually type it in a Google Sheets spreadsheet. So you really don't have any excuse not to get some kind of grasp on what your monthly incomings and outgoings are every single month.
Number 11 is to charge your phone in a different room than the one that you sleep in.
Using your iPhone to relax in bed by scrolling on TikTok and Instagram is actually going to give the complete opposite effect to help you get that much needed shut-eye. So set a rule that you charge your phone in a completely separate room before you head to sleep. After you've built up this habit, you'll find it's way quicker to actually fall asleep, and also you will get way higher quality of sleep. But Adam, what am I going to do instead of scrolling on my phone before I sleep? Read a book or do some journaling. Something that actually calms the mind rather than making it race on.
Number 12 is that time dilation sucks. Time passes way quicker the older you get. I hate it. I wish the summers lasted as long as they did when I was 10 years old, having the break between school years. But they don't. More reason to reflect upon each day and pause with gratitude for the good things that you already have.
Number 13 is schedule your friendship nurturing versus when you feel like you want to reach out. You're already a super busy person, so there's no way that you're going to be able to just rely on mental energy to help you with nurturing your friendships and relationships. Schedule reach outs in your Google Calendar for when you're going to contact family and friends. They're probably all so busy with all of their own life stuff, so somebody's going to have to be the initiator here, and it might as well be you.
Only your family's love is unconditional. Yes, your girlfriend may really love you, I hope mine does, but if you end up being a complete degenerate, she's going to start to question whether or not this relationship is actually going to last. Your parents, on the other hand, are much more likely to put up with your bad behavior. I mean, after all, you wouldn't be here without them.
15 is therapy. You better do it. The amount of things you'll end up realizing about your past and what makes you you is unbelievable. So much so that I actually think if everybody on the planet did therapy, the world would be a much quainter and less stressful place in some ways. Being able to speak to somebody in private who has no history or emotional connection or attachment to you and is actually trained to analyze what you say and to give you appropriate feedback and kind of prompts to help you with it is pretty much something that we almost never ever experience with anybody else that we encounter in life. A lot of times the questions they ask lead you to the answers for the things that you were struggling with in the first place.
Number 16 is money helps bring out the person you already are. The stereotype of rich people being all a-holes just isn't true. There's plenty of incredibly rich people who are incredibly empathetic and down to earth. If you're generally quite insecure or, you have some mental health problems or personality traits that are not so healthy and great, then when you do acquire money, you're just going to be emphasizing these actions and personality traits even more. And you'll eventually become the same a-hole that you used to call all of those rich people when you yourself didn't have any money. Number 17 is to create systems that hold you accountable when motivation is sorely lacking. Motivation isn't always going to be there, and you need workflows in place to give you that extra drive when it's lacking. Things like time blocking in your calendar or social media restricted apps that blocked your ability to even go on social media apps during certain times of the day, or even passing off some of your freelance tasks to someone else, because that'll certainly give you a kick up the bum, because if you actually don't do any of the tasks or prepare them for the person you're hiring, then they have nothing to do and they're not going to have any money from you, and they're going to be pretty angry about that. Me having a YouTube editor is a perfect example of this massive nudge that I sometimes need, especially when my editor is messaging me like, hey, where's all the footage for the next video? I'm ready to edit it. And I'm like, yep, I can't not be not motivated. I kind of just have to
do it. Number 18 is that the best time to plant a tree is now, even though it could have been planted 2 years ago. Wishing you did this thing or started this hobby when you were a lot younger is something that can prey on a lot of people's minds, but when in actuality there's absolutely nothing from stopping you from doing this thing now. It will be harder to get the momentum going with a habit or a skill or a hobby that you actually want to do because you've built up so much resistance now about the act of doing it, and maybe you've even identified as that you're not a person who can play piano, or you're not a person who could be confident, therefore you don't want to do that improv class to get better at that skill, and life is likely to be way more hectic and busy than the responsibilities that you used to have when you were younger. But the regret that you'll have from never doing the thing will far outweigh any initial discomfort from getting started with the actual hobby, habit, or skill that you actually have always wanted to do.
Number 19 is that you can learn both good and bad things from your friends. Your friends, as much as I wish they were, are not going to be perfect. So learn from both their good and bad traits and figure out what you can help them to improve upon. If you can help teach them to improve, you can certainly help to teach yourself as well. Take on the good qualities that they have and recognize the more negative ones that they hold, and figure out how you can avoid adopting them too.
Learn what your love language is. A relationship won't last if you don't understand the kind of love that the other person requires, and also the kind of love that you require. So read about different love languages and reflect on the ones that you feel the strongest to try and find in a stable relationship. No, this isn't some hippie woo stuff. This is basic human psychology. Different types of people and personalities are bound to interpret and desire love in different ways. So you better be sure that your partner is someone that can fulfill the specific type of love language that you require, and also you being the person that can fulfill theirs. There's birds everywhere in the sky. Caw-caw, they agree.
Number 21 is that you can almost learn anything from the mistakes that others have gone through, but it won't stick as heavily as if you'd have gone through it yourself. All the life lessons and advice that we need as people are already out there somewhere in books or on the internet, but absolutely nothing will ever beat direct experience. That'd be both positive and negative. Consume self-help info as a preview of what you actually might go about experiencing as you move through the world, but just know that if you actually go about and make the exact same mistakes, it was the only way for you to properly take lessons away for yourself.
Wealth isn't just about having a lot of money, it's about having a lot of options and knowing how to make money from them. As the great Tai Lopez has said before, knowledge is the key to unlocking your ability to make wealth. If life throws you a massive financial curveball, just being confident that you'll be fine and you'll make the money back with the knowledge and skills you already have is such an unfamiliar perspective and experience for many. Not feeling any sense of scarcity to acquire more income and being able to take action to provide value to the world so you can acquire it is the basis of true wealth.
Number 23 is that unproductive things are productive in moderation. Chillaxing is as important as your focused productivity. You might think you can sustain these crazy hustle work days, but truth is you're gonna get burnt out eventually, which is why you need downtime and rest time. Play video games, do some hobby that's completely disconnected from any financial incentive. It's like sleep for the productive parts of your brain. You need time to turn them off so that they can recharge for the following day. Number 24 is that luck matters more than you want to believe that it does. We all think that we have the power to control all of our destinies, but the truth is there's just some stuff that you're not going to be able to control. Sure, you can steer some things in a direction so that they're more likely to occur, but if luck doesn't eventually come around, chances are you were never gonna achieve success in that area. Still, if you really, really love something and you just perceive that that is what you were put on this planet to do, it's better to keep going and keep going so that you have the best opportunity for this luck to come about, knowing that you gave it your absolute best shot that you ever could have, if for whatever reason it never happens to work out for you.
Number 25 is that you have an invisible reputation, so don't make it a bad one. Everybody has an opinion about you whether you know it or not. So unless somebody is being a total bell end, be nice and treat them with respect. You'll miss so many opportunities in life because you've unknowingly painted quite a bad reputation about yourself.
Relationships are two wholes meeting each other, not two halves that make each other complete. This whole BS of, oh, she's my other half, she makes me complete, it's all cringe and bull. You're already complete, and having a loving relationship just makes life better. But if you didn't have that person in your life, you'd be okay. It might not be as easy or fun necessarily, but you know, you're still gonna be alright because you're already full and you don't need anybody else to complete you. And even if you don't quite feel this fullness, how are you going to expect somebody else to fill you up when you can't even do it yourself? Sounds kind of weird analogies and weird words, but you get the idea. You have to already be a whole to be ready for somebody to help complement that as another whole.
Number 27 is that there's no defined time frames for when you should have reached certain milestones in life. Being 31, I'm continually seeing people that are my age having kids and even owning their own house. And this can be taxing, feeling like you're far behind with certain life milestones that we're all supposed to apparently go through. But I've constantly got to remind myself, and we all do, that everybody is moving at their own pace. And for some people, having a kid at 30 years old or even 25 just makes sense for them. And for other people, it actually doesn't. In life, you've got to move to the current of your own tide rather than trying to sync it up with other people's. You're not going to be able to replicate the happiness of other people's lives when you're not them, and that same step and event is not going to make you as happy as it seems to make them. Number 28 is that you're either too frugal or too stingy with your money, and that you need to find a better balance. You shouldn't spend needlessly, but you also shouldn't be penny pinching in every little thing. If you're saving too much, it's probably because you perceive money as a scarce resource. If you spend too much money, it's probably because you perceive money as far too abundant. Both mindsets aren't healthy, and you need to explore the mindset so you can shift to land somewhere closer to the middle. I had this more stingy mindset until I experimented with spending money on things like, for example, a taxi to get to the airport, when I could have saved that money and just arrived there via public transport. Me getting to the airport via taxi is worth that extra comfort and reduced stress when traveling, and the value exchange from it is worth it, and I have the confidence that I have the skills to make that money back from my freelance work. And that confidence ultimately affects my mood and energy levels for taking steps that'll lead me to acquire money in the first place. Number 29 is that you take too long to do things. Strive for MVP and shorten the allocated time for its completion. Work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion, so you've got to give yourself some kind of self-imposed deadline. Even if you don't quite finish it by then, just by creating boundaries in the process means that you'll work faster. Remove the stress of having to complete things by aiming for MVP or a minimum viable product. What's the most basic point that this thing can get to before it could realistically be shipped? Stress often comes from standards being too high and you feeling that you're incredibly far away from it. Lower the bar so it feels closer, and so your motivation becomes more aligned to the potential achievement of the goal. Number 30 is the time you're living now, good or bad, will be looked back upon nostalgically in the future. Whether you're going through a good time or a tough time, at some point in the future when you look back at this stage in your life, you're going to reminisce about the struggles or joys that you experienced during that period. How simple and easy life was for you back then versus how difficult it might be now. How unbelievably naive you were back then versus how much more knowledgeable and experienced you are about life in general. And just how content you are as a person right now versus the anxiety-inducing days that were experienced those years ago. So whatever you might be going through in life right now, good or bad, savor it as much as you can to capture those memories and moments during this time. Because one day you might look back and realize that you didn't value what you had as much as you could have back then. If you like more philosophical life advicey stuff like this, you should check out my free newsletter, Creativepreneur. And if you want to learn how wasting time makes you a better creative, check out this other video on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.